Welcome to Violin Adventures number 191. That means we have 8 more episodes before the grand 200th. But let's jump into this episode. We start off with work on the Czech violin. Well, we're starting off with a beautiful piece of spruce with a good tone. And from this, we have a nice bass bar here that we're going to fit. And here we're working on our Czech violin from the 1800s. So I'm going to cut out the shape of this bar and get it fit to the top. Let's see, yeah. And we've got our grain running nice and straight. All right, it looks like this is going to work out really nicely. Oh, I didn't turn it. Okay, we're ready to get the bass bar in. So we've got all our clamps here and we've got our hot hide glue. And there it is. We'll wait for that to dry. And then we'll see about putting a few cleats in, not very many, just a couple, and then closing it up. So we're back here getting the clamps off of our bass bar so that we can shape this. All right, we're getting ready to seal up this violin. We've got the bass bar in, and we did one little cleat in there. All right, we'll get our repair label in, and then we can close this up. Okay, we've got our hot hide glue here, and we're going to put in a nice label. Okay, we just put in that label there. Here at our 1800s Czech violin, we're going to get the clamps off, and then the next job is to get the fingerboard on at the correct angle and the correct position. This is the one with the extra long neck. So we're going to bring in an upper nut here to fill up the extra space, and then get a fingerboard at the right angle this way. So now all the calculations begin. These violins were created before everything was really standardized. So it's interesting that the neck is so long. But we do need a little extra length in order to make the string length just right. Normally, we measure from here to here and here to here. And at this point, the notches for the bridge are a little bit higher. And we're going to keep those there, but we will take up the slack on the neck. So actually, I will be, instead of bringing the fingerboard all the way down to the regular dimension, I'm going to take up the slack here, up here, and so the neck will be a little extra long, just so that we can make the string length right on. So to compensate for the -5 from here to the bridge. Hopefully that makes sense. The neck is a little bit warped because the last fingerboard didn't have good glue. When you have really good solid glue, that holds the fingerboard on tight and it keeps the neck from warping. But since it was soft glue, the neck warped forward a bit. So we're going to see if we can fix that too. Now this is how the violin looks. It's a bit dirty. All right, there it is afterward. That's the best I can do without, we don't want to harm the varnish. But all right, we've got some nice hot hide glue, and I'm going to get the fingerboard attached to our Czech violin so that next week we can work on fitting the fingerboard to the neck. The neck is quite thin, so I'll need to take a lot down on that. But if we can get this attached, and I found a little notch here on the right side of the neck, which is exactly where I was going to put it too. So I'm assuming that was Mr. Middlebrook that put that notch on there. So it looks like we were thinking down the same avenue. I said 5 millimeters. It's supposed to be 3 or 2.5. So it's not off that much. All right. So that was a correction. It should be 2.5 millimeters off down here. So extra 2.5 up here. We finish up the sidle violin. Okay, we're here on the sidle violin. We've got it all finished, touch-up is done, and it's ready to send off. So I wanted to play it just before we send it off. So there's our sidle. We'll play Shalom. Just a little bit of adjustment before I send this off. If the bridge isn't just right where it needs to be, by looking down the fingerboard, it can sound quite different. So we'll give this one last try. An emergency repair comes in. So here we have a little emergency. One of my students went off to music camp, and what happened? Something happened, and we've got 2 big cracks here. One crack right in the sound post area. So I'm going to quickly take this top off, and we'll have to get a sound post patch in there and clean up these cracks and get it back in business because she needs her violin. Okay, we got the violin open and you can see just how white the wood is. But there you go. You can see what a very young violin looks like on the inside. And we've got our crack here. And then there's a sound post crack that runs all the way down. So we'll close the cracks and then put in a sound post patch. All right, our hide glue is hot. I'm going to let that dry, do one crack at a time. Professor Jasinski finishes the last piece of purfling on his cello. Putting in the last piece of purfling.
Perflection. The last piece, I'm going to shove, oh, I got glue on me. I'm going to shove that up to the end. And this time, that thing of beauty. There's very little better feeling than when your purfling goes in. The first time, if you want to improve your mood, come study violin making with Cheryl.
Time for an anecdote. I reckon it is time for anecdotes of great musicians, and we're going to read number 196. The tenor is always hard to find. He is harder to train, and he is hardest to control. No wonder then that operatic managers have us to start out on tenor hunting expeditions and are supremely happy if they capture a good specimen of the bird. In 1820, Count Pelfy, the manager of the Vienna Opera, was at his wit's end for a good tenor. So he set out with Salieri, the composer and conductor, to scour the country round, seeking for the voice the latter wished for his last new opera. After chasing down several rumors of wonderful voices, tired and disgusted, they sought the comfort of a village inn. It was a holy day, and the peasants were passing in procession from one shrine to another, singing as they went, the most of them making more noise than music, if the truth be told. Suddenly, Salieri jumped up, rushed out into the crowd, and caught one awkward country youth by the arm, commanding him to sing, sing. The fellow did so, and his tones were full, free, and of wonderful musical quality. But alas, his appearance. Bullet-headed, short, thin, ugly-featured, and bow-legged. But Salieri cared nothing for his appearance. He declared his legs had nothing to do with his singing, and leading him back to the inn, the composer threw open the piano and begged the tenor to sing. He chose an Italian aria, and as the last sounds of the high C died away, his listeners warmly encored him, for the long sought-for man was found. "What is your name?" "Antoine Hasinger." "And your occupation?" "Under school teacher." "Your salary is yearly?" 100 gulden and free lodgings." "Ye gods, and you have thousands lying in your throat! I engage you immediately for the Royal Opera." The look of joy which had filled the eyes of the amazed singer died away as, after a moment's hesitation, he replied, "It is impossible. I can't leave here." "Why not, you young fool?" cried Salieri. "I cannot. If I go away from Willersdorf, I must leave Lisa." "And?" answered the blushing lover. "Ha ha," laughed the Count. "Well, my man, I will give you lessons free and 100 gulden a month the first year, and after that double the amount. So you had better let Lisa wait a couple of years." "No," murmured the amorous swain. "She would marry the miller's son, and I can't go, I won't go." And with a hasty bow he made his departure. Palfy felt himself outraged, but the wily Italian only laughed and said, "Have him removed to Vienna. The fatal charmer will be faithless. He will accidentally meet him, and he will then gladly accept your offer." Now, the office of schoolteacher in Austria is held by governmental appointment. Palfy knew how to pull the wires, and some months later found the unsuspecting tenor in Vienna. 'Twas not long ere his beloved Lisa verified his darkest forebodings and found a handsomer man. Yielding to the entreaties of Salieri, who had chanced across him, Hasinger sought solace for his wounded heart in the divine art. A year passed, and scarlet posters announced the debut of this wonderful tenor. He was to appear as Tamino in the Magic Flute, and far and near had been spread the predictions of his wonderful success. A great crowd had gathered to hear the new tenor. Hasinger was so affected by stage fright that he had to be flung onto the stage by the manager. When the time came for his appearance, he was awkward, and even his wonderful voice seemed to have failed him. But later in the evening his self-assurance returned, and his singing was rapturously applauded. From that time on his success was assured, and for 30 years he held sway as one of the foremost tenors of all Europe. And I have one more picked out here, and it's a shorter one. It's number 194, and it's called the Pyrotechnic Violoncello. In the good old times, each player in the orchestra used to have his candlestick fastened to his music desk. We read of one of the old masters who, at a certain place in one composition, had the violinist stop playing and wrap the tin shades of their candlesticks with their violin bows, then go on playing as if nothing had happened. And we may remember how old Papa Haydn, with his patron prince, had a fit of retrenchment and was about to discharge his orchestra, had each one of the players, one at a time, in the progress of the farewell symphony, to rise, blow out his candle, and take his departure until only the leader was left. This ruse secured the continuation of the orchestra's existence. It was told by an English clergyman who was quite a good player on the violoncello that when his candle began to get dim, he would, if a few bars of rest offered opportunity, hastily snuff his candle with his fingers, and, not to spoil the carpet, he would quickly thrust the burnt wick into the sound holes of his cello and continue his performance. This was all right if he wished to make an ash box of his instrument. But once a wag, observing his peculiar trick, determined to have some fun at his expense. Just before the playing began, managed to interview the parson's cello. Shortly after the music was well underway, our friend spotted a favorable rest, and took occasion to snuff his candle and deposited the results in his favorite place, when bang went the cello into uncountable pieces, and the good parson sprawled on the floor. Down went cello, parson, and all. A cello never made so much noise before. Doubtless he treated his next instrument to a better fate than that of an ash bin. Well, that's all for today. Freddie wants to chat.
Hi, I'm Freddie, and thank you to all the people that are sending in your projects. That's great, and we need more projects, so if you're working on something in your basement, or in the corner of your house, or in your shop, send us a picture so we can see what you're working on. Now, last week, I had a friend come visit me. Her name was Mrs. Nancy Generette, and she came all the way from Pennsylvania. Wow! So she came to get her violin, so here she is.
So this is Nancy from...
Generette, yes, from Marble, Pennsylvania.
She's coming to get her violin, pick it up. Now we're going to test it and see what it sounds like.
That was beautiful. Thank you. This is absolutely gorgeous sound. So.
A whole bunch of things to go in the 200th episode. That's gonna be so fun. But here's one for the 4th of July that she sent. Wow, that's a lot of fireworks. Well, don't forget to send in your pictures or projects for the 200th episode. Bye!
The Hebrew Minute. So many of you are finding the Hebrew Minute, and that is wonderful. See if you can find this one. Yoshev Baseter Elyon, Batzel Shaddai Yitlonan. He who abides in the secret place or the hiding place or the shelter of the Most High shall abide under the shadow or in the shadow of the Almighty. If you know where this is found, please leave it in the comments below. Friday afternoon, warm, but a beautiful sky. Let's go inside, see what's going on. Here we are inside the shop. This big box is our Cello violin getting ready to go home. So here's our Czech violin. It's got the fingerboard on. And here's our emergency violin. We've got the crack sealed now, We still need to do a sound post patch, and we need to cleat the cracks. And here's the pochette. He's still hanging out. I think I need an apprentice to come set this up. And these are the ones waiting. We've got a viola coming up next and another violin. So if you sent in your violin, it's here waiting. Well, we have 8 episodes left before the grand finale of the 200th episode. And I'm asking that you all will send in your pictures of whatever project you're working on in your basement, in the corner of your house, in your shop, wherever it is. We'd love to see it. Thank you to all of you who have sent in your pictures and videos. We're looking forward to this special episode. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your wonderful comments. Thank you for the thumbs up. And to the new subscribers, thank you. And until next time, bye.